The business trip began with a flourish. As a fairly recent graduate of GE Company's much-touted financial management program, I was being sent to our division's headquarters in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, for business discussions, followed by a division-wide leadership conference. At the last minute, my manager advised me I could travel with several senior leaders via corporate Learjet. In fact, he encouraged me to do so as an opportunity to interact with these high-level managers. In my mind, and at the youthful age of 27, I had arrived. Quite full of myself, I called my wife to let her know of my change in plans from commercial airline to charter jet. I was thrilled, though I wore a veneer of calm confidence. The experience was not quite as anticipated. They chatted with me briefly, directed me to the most far-flung seat, then proceeded to engage in a tactical conversation. Periodically, they would ask me to hand them a drink from the refrigerator. Otherwise, I was ignored. This should not be misconstrued. They treated me very nicely, but it became apparent that I was not much more than a hitchhiker. Still, it was quite a treat. Limos awaited us on the ground in Pittsfield. I was delivered promptly to my hotel. I was so impressed, and my aspirations to leadership only grew as a result. When I called my wife to advise her of my safe arrival, I jabbered like newly crowned royalty. She laughed right along with me. 2 days of business affairs passed uneventfully. This was my first exposure to a considerably higher state of affairs, and I handled it quite well. I made several significant contributions along the way. Interspersed with the business activities were many opportunities to reflect on my performance. For the first time, I began to see that my skills were, in fact, quite good. Curiously, this awareness did not produce the same sense of ego inflation that came from my Learjet experience. Instead, it seemed like demonstration and much more grounded. The leadership conference occurred on my last day in Pittsfield. Morning meetings gave way to lunch and golf at the local country club. As a former competitive golfer, I played really well. I had long been aware that a good round of golf made a positive impression, so I was pleased. After showers, we donned our business attire, listened to a keynote address, then were treated to a full lobster dinner. During the course of the evening, waiters plied us with copious amounts of alcohol. This added to the large quantity of beer that had been consumed on the golf course. I got drunk. Not just intoxicated, but drunk. I don't know if my successes had exposed me emotionally or psychologically, but my behavior under the influence of all that booze was really over the top. As I told an outrageous story, I swung my arm in a huge arc. At the end of that gesture rested an elegant silver tureen filled with drawn butter. I watched in surreal slow motion as the entire tureen became airborne and struck me square in the chest, dead center on my red power tie. The viscosity of the butter was just such that it did not splash. Rather, it spread like a wave down my torso. I remember a feeling of surprise, followed by humiliation and shame. The waitress's diligent attempts to clean me with club soda were an exercise in futility. I spent the remainder of the evening vacillating between the desire to become invisible and attempts to explain. Neither seemed sufficient or successful. Had I known then that the first tenet of leadership is the principle of right size, I'm sure I would have laughed wholeheartedly at myself. After all, the surest and quickest path to personal integrity is to promptly make an ass of oneself. As I remember that experience, I really do have to laugh. And I remember that the root word for humor is the Indo-Aryan word hum. It translates as humus or earth. It is the same root from which our words human, humane, and humility are drawn. It is comforting to know that there is common ground, pun intended, between my humanity, a sense of humor, and humility. The tough questions for any of us in leadership roles include, what is my right size? How do I know it when I achieve it? How might others experience it when they see it in me?